Now to our focus of discussion. The COVID-19 pandemic threw the entire global economic, political, and social systems into turmoil, and Nigeria was no exception. COVID-19 negatively impacted the Nigerian economy and aviation sector, and 1 year after the country was shut down, things have gradually picked up. Air travel is yet to fully resume across the world, with some countries still under strict COVID regulations. Joining me for the discussion is aviation editor, New Telegraph newspaper, Wale Shadari. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
Now, when COVID-19 was declared a pandemic, so that to curb the spread, countries were asked to shut down their aviation sectors, restrict movement, and Nigeria, being part of all of it, had to do same. And local travel was also shut down as well. So much losses. The aviation sector was said to be the worst hit around the world. But help us put to proper perspective, if you are to chronicle what went on for the past 1 year in terms of losses. Help us put to proper perspective the impact the pandemic has had on the aviation sector.
Thank you very much. This pandemic, we started noticing it in 2019, late 2019. But not many people took it seriously. Not many countries took it seriously until it became a pandemic, and countries needed to do what they needed to do to ensure that we do not have spread of this virus. It was new to the whole world. It was new to aviation. It was new to everybody. In 2020, last year, March, the federal government did what it needed to do, although some people claim that it came a bit too late by shutting the airspace. But what government did at that particular time was to look at it and say, was it something we could manage? But when they saw that it was something they couldn't manage, they had to shut air travel. And if we look at it, February last year was when we had the index case of an Italian who came to Nigeria, and everybody became afraid because we didn't know how to manage it. The world didn't know how to manage it. So government swung into action and shut the airspace and began to outline so many protocols, so many guidelines to follow. It was difficult initially, but now I think we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Not totally, but maybe with vaccines that we are having now, we help to stem the tide. But looking at air travel generally, air travel was one of the hardest hits by COVID-19. And according to the International Air Transport Association, which is the clearinghouse for global airlines, about 290 airlines, aviation has lost over 300 billion and we're not going to recover until in the next 2 years, according to IATA. So what it shows is that the airlines have lost money. Apart from the debts that we have recorded, the economy is in shambles as a result of COVID-19. The aviation agencies have also lost money. Everybody has lost so much money, but we thank God we have life. So if we quantify what we have lost or what the global aviation industry has lost, I think we'll be looking at over close to $1 trillion by the end of in the next 2 years. So we're still counting. The industry is counting. The airlines are suffering. They are burning cash. There's cash burn, and they are not really making money. When you see most of the airlines, you begin to think that they are making money. They are not really making money. At times, we even wonder how they are able to be in operation, because running an airline is very, very expensive. Even before COVID, not to talk of COVID now. Yes, we have a lot of airlines that are coming in, but you begin to ask yourself, where is the market? Where are they going to? They are still going to poach on each other's passengers, and at the end of the day, most of them are going empty. So we can't quantify the losses. They are humongous, they are huge, and until we're able to get to a level that we'll be able to manage it properly, we can't actually tell you. And not to forget also, we have lost jobs. A lot of jobs have been lost. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost. So we need to sit down and see how we're going to recover from this.
Right. We'll look at how we've been able to manage the crisis, if I may use the word, because there was governments coming out to say intervention at some point and all of it. But you mentioned something that I'd like for you to talk on, because before even the pandemic, there were financial problems.
Absolutely.
Some aviation,
Absolutely.
there were some aviation financial problems suffered by some airlines. I wonder how this is compounding those financial problems that was already on the ground.
Absolutely, and if care is not taken, we're going to see many airlines going out of operations. The signs are there. They're just patching it. The signs are there. It gets to a level where you can't really
manage
go
it
anymore. So you just have to throw in the trowel. Like we've seen in other climes, it's not limited to Nigeria aviation industry. Bigger airlines in Europe, in the United States are collapsing. They don't have the money. So, and bring it down to Nigeria, where the market is very weak, very small and fragmented. You begin to see that pattern, the way airlines are operating. And what did the airlines do? To cut their costs, they remove in-flight catering services to cut it. And
which the government is asking they should
ask them
return.
to do, exactly. But I don't know how that is going to be profitable to the airlines, because if they reintroduce it might lead to increase in airfare. Already is high for some people, because not everybody can afford 30, 35, 40,000 naira to go to Abuja. When you look at the minimum wage, it's same people that travel all the time, contractors, government officials. And if you look at it, Nigeria is a country of over 200 million people. Less than 10 million people travel domestically. What it shows is that it's about 5% of the population, or less than 10% of the population, take to air travel. So when people don't have money, it's going to impact on a lot of things, and air travel is one of those things. So when you look at it, the airlines are in financial dire straits. Whether we like it or not, the signs are there. The palliative given to them is just a drop in an ocean. It's very, very small, 4 billion naira. I wonder what
it's not going to cushion.
It's not going to do anything. What they've done is just to ensure that the airlines were able
stay
to pay.
Afloat.
No, not even stay afloat. Be able to pay staff salaries and maybe some of the things that they need to do. But that is even too small for just one airline. When you look at the American economy, the United States gave over $300 billion to airlines to make the. Yes, it's a very big market, and they also open their books for scrutiny. Nigerian airlines don't do that. You don't even know what they are doing, except for one or two that are, trying to change the whole narrative. So it is really, really small. What the government has given them is just a drop in an ocean. It's not even going to do anything. It's not going to even do your maintenance. It's not even going to bring back your aircraft that have gone on storage back into service. So a lot of people have said, why do you give them money when they don't open their books to scrutiny? They are not in the stock market. Nobody knows what they are doing. It's family business they are doing. They run, understand? So why are you giving them money? And these monies are not going to be paid back. It's just like, government just say, just go and do whatever you want to do. Then you ask the Google seller, why are you not giving that to Google seller? Are they not also part of the economy? Why are you not giving it to the organizer? Are they not also part of the economy? Why are you not giving it to everybody? Why have you singled aviation as a sector that must be bailed out? And government will tell you that the aviation industry is a very vital sector. It's one of the engine rooms of the economy.
Absolutely.
So we can begin to look at it from that angle, that government has really done well. But like I said, it is nothing to write home about. But government has to be commended at least for taking that action to say, okay, we want to give you something.
So invariably, we're able to manage, the disruption to some level.
Yes, we're able to manage. I won't call it manage because, yes, they tried. The federal government tried. At least they handled this COVID almost the same way we handled the Ebola case, although the COVID case is bigger than Ebola. So they managed it well. Maybe in one or two places where they've not done well, but they've been able to do well. They've been able to give guidelines, the protocols for airlines to follow and passengers to follow, and these people are really, making sure that they follow those things. So they've really, really done well.
Now, you mentioned that hopefully we'll recover the aviation sector will recover in the next 2 years.
Yes.
Well, with the evolving nature of the pandemic or the virus, if I may say, are you really confident? Because we are still, some are already talking about a third wave at this point.
Absolutely, and that is why countries are really making sure that they push these vaccines to third world countries, because if you vaccinate your people and they are COVID-free, and you leave the third world country, you look at aviation. Aviation is the business of movement.
Absolutely.
People will need to leave their third world country, a country that is ravaged by COVID or whatever diseases, to come to your own place and pollute whatever you have there. So they are pushing these things to Africa. In fact, they are working so hard to ensure that these vaccines are pushed to Africa so that a lot of people will get vaccinated. And it has also gotten to a stage that without your vaccine card,
you can't travel.
You can't travel. It becomes very, very difficult. Now, I got my own jab yesterday, so it's easier now because airlines like Qantas Airline in Australia has made it mandatory, compulsory, that if you need to come to Australia, you must have your vaccine. It has now become a passport. You must have it. So when we look at it, the aviation industry will take time to recover, but nations are trying as much as possible to ensure that they limit the spread. Most of them were on lockdown, even when Nigeria opened its airspace for another 5-6 months. So they are really working to ensure that the spread is curtailed. They can really, really curtail it. And if you also look at it, the aviation industry will survive, but a lot of things would have happened before that survival. And that is why airlines are looking at it. Governments are coming with restrictions on how to minimize all this. If you also look at the spat between Nigeria and United Arab Emirates, is as a result of the PCR and rapid test.
Yes.
Nigeria felt, no, you can't do rapid tests for passengers until we have the infrastructure. And those people say, no, we have so many cases that we can't continue to spread COVID in Dubai or in UAE. And there was kind of a misunderstanding between federal government and the UAE. So we look at it, there are going to be a lot of quarrels, there are going to be a lot of political maneuverings. But at the end of the day, I think these nations are trying to look at various ways to ensure that we really limit the spread of COVID-19, and by extension, airlines also survive.
So what government has done so far, and you have said that it's just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
What more should government do moving forward so that we can quickly revive?
I think the airlines are really, really suffering. Even before COVID-19, like I mentioned earlier, they are really, really suffering. But government has also done a lot in removal of value-added tax, which the airlines claim has added to airfare. They remove custom duties and a lot of things. But government also need to go beyond that to ensure that they give the airlines the necessary support. Because if you look at airlines, an airline can employ over 2,000 people. They employ people massively.
Absolutely.
So it is one of the biggest employers of labor. So government need to look at it, because if an airline goes down, it means over at least 500 people are out of job, and that is actually massive. So, and you also multiply it with the other catalytic effect or things the airlines provide, like catering, like so many other services they provide. So government need to go and ensure that they give them some waivers in terms of custom duties they've done, but they still need to sit down to look at the airline and say, what further help can we provide for you people to remain in business? And running an airline is very, very expensive. I don't think if you give me $100 million to run an airline, I will tell you, I don't want to go into that business. Why don't you just give me $5 million and go and run your airline? Because at times I wonder where they make the money. I wonder where they get the money to run this business. It's not that lucrative, but maybe because of ego, because, it's very is a proud thing for you to say, I'm an airline CEO, I'm airline MD. So it's elitist. So, and they also use it to get loans, foreign exchange, but whatever they do with those advantages that airline operation confers on them, we really don't know. A lot of people say they do other businesses different from aviation. They use the money from aviation and divert into other businesses.
Perhaps it might also be an opportunity for government to begin to tell them, let's have your books, let's see what's going on.
No. Government can't really do that in the sense that, yes, government can do that, but at the same time, a business that, what does government need to do with your books? Except the regulatory authority needs to see your books, need to know whether you're financially strong to operate an airline. Because if you're not financially strong to operate an airline, you'll cut corners, like we saw 10, 15, 20 years ago, where aircraft were falling off the skies. You have not even cut corners. Crashes are happening, not to talk of where we have a weak regulatory body. But thank God we have a very strong aviation regulatory body, the NCA. So it is difficult now to cut corners. The NCA will ground you. So, but at times you also look at yourself and say, and you look at the situation and ask yourself, how strong are these airlines? If the airlines are not strong enough to provide the type of safe operation that they need to do, I'm sure the NCA will not think twice before grounding the aircraft, like we had of Asman Airline that was just grounded a few weeks ago over safety matters. Absolutely. That has caused a lot of problem back and forth. But the regulatory body has done what it needed to do to ensure that we do not have another accident.
Right. We'll leave the conversation here now. Aviation editor, New Telegraph newspaper, Wale Shadari. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.